The grand wedding venue in Accra fell into a silence so deep you could hear a petal drop from a bouquet. All eyes were locked on the entrance. Kofi Mensah, the groom, stood frozen at the altar, his smile crumbling into dust. His new bride, Oma, his former wife's best friend, gripped his arm, her perfect makeup doing nothing to hide her terror. Walking towards them, not in the wheelchair they had so cruelly ensured the venue could accommodate, but on her own two strong legs, was Ya. The wife Kofi had divorced a year ago, calling her a crippled deadweight. Her gold-trimmed Kent cloth gown flowed like a river of fire, and 6 formidable security men flanked her. The event MC, stunned, shuffled forward and offered a microphone with a shaking hand. Ya took it, her eyes sweeping over the horrified couple and the 300 guests. She smiled, a calm, dangerous smile. "Thank you for the invitation," her voice, clear and powerful, echoed in the hall. "I've come to give my congratulations, and to settle a debt." The crowd held its breath. What debt could this woman, who they all thought was broken and poor, possibly be talking about? Hello, welcome to the Echoes from the Baobab Tree. Kindly support the channel by subscribing to the channel, like and share with your loved ones. 12 months earlier, the air in a private room at Korabu Teaching Hospital in Accra was thick with antiseptic and despair. Ya lay still, her legs numb and heavy under the sheet. A week had passed since the car accident on the Accra-Kumasi highway. The doctor's words echoed, "The damage to your spine is severe. You may never walk again." Just hours after that prognosis, the news channels announced the total collapse of her late father's empire, the mighty Adinkra Holdings. Bankruptcy. Ruin. The door to her hospital room opened. Kofi walked in, but he wasn't alone. Oma, Ya's best friend since secondary school, was with him, her hand tucked snugly in the crook of his arm. Ya's heart, already fragile, gave a painful squeeze. Kofi didn't ask how she was feeling. Instead, he placed a stack of papers on her blanket. "Sign these, Ya," he said, his voice as cold as the hospital tiles. "You are a dead weight now. You cannot walk. Your father's money is gone. I cannot carry you through life." Oma nodded, her face a mask of fake pity. "It's for the best, Ya. You need to focus on getting better, and Kofi needs to live his life." The betrayal was a physical blow. With a trembling hand, shattered not by weakness but by a storm of grief and fury she forced down, Ya signed the divorce papers. 2 days later, alone in the quiet room, Ya made a decision. She called her most trusted allies, Mr. Boateng, the family lawyer, Efua, her stern financial manager, and Kwame, her late father's oldest security chief. "Listen carefully," she whispered into the phone, her voice gaining strength. "I need you to make Adinkra Holdings look completely dead to the world. News of bankruptcy must be everywhere. But in reality, hide every asset. Move everything into the blind trust and offshore accounts we prepared for emergencies." There was a stunned silence on the line. "Why, madam?" Mr. Boateng asked. "Because," Ya said, watching a rainstorm begin outside her window, "I need to see the true character of the vulture circling me. And I need to protect my father's legacy before they try to pick its bones." A week after the divorce, Ya was transferred to a private rehabilitation clinic. Her ward had shrunk to this room and the grueling physical therapy sessions. Meanwhile, Kofi and Oma, now openly together, used the 3 million Ghana cedis he had hastily withdrawn from their joint account, money Ya had left there as a test, to start a new real estate company in Tima. They told everyone they were building a new life from scratch, heroes who had escaped a sinking ship. Ya's days became a brutal routine of pain and perseverance. Little did Kofi and Oma know, her injury was not permanent. The doctors offered a glimmer of hope. With intense therapy, she could walk again. Every day, she fought. She imagined Kofi's cold eyes and Oma's false smile as she pushed through the agonizing exercises. Her spirit, once shattered, was now being reforged in fire and determination. One afternoon, 6 months after the accident, Efua visited the clinic. "He's doing well," she reported, her lips tight with disdain. "His company, New Dawn Properties, is winning small contracts. He brags constantly about how he rebuilt his life after you." Ya simply nodded, looking at her legs, which now responded with a faint twitch to her command. "Good," she said. "Let him build it a little higher. The taller the tree, the harder it falls." The invitation arrived on a sunny Tuesday, 1 full year after the divorce. It was thick, cream paper, with elegant cursive. "Kofi Mensah and Omar Sawa request your presence to celebrate their union." Tucked inside was a separate note in Omar's handwriting. "Dear Ya, we would be so honored if you came. We've made sure the venue is perfect for wheelchairs. Please come and share our joy." The cruelty was so precise it took Ya's breath away. They wanted her there as a prop, the broken former wife, to make their victory complete. Ya stood in her spacious apartment in East Legon, looking at her reflection. She took a deep, steadying breath, and then, she took a step. Then another. Her legs, strong once more, carried her smoothly across the room. A fierce joy burned in her chest. She picked up her phone. "Kwame," she said. "Prepare my security detail and the car. I have a wedding to attend." She then called her designer. "I need a gown. Something in Kent. Something that says Queen." The wedding day arrived. As Ya's sleek black car approached the luxurious venue in Airport City, she could see guests milling about. She closed her eyes, remembering Kofi's words in the hospital. "Dead weight." She thought of Omar, pretending to comfort her while stealing her husband. The anger was there, but she wrapped it in a cool, calm silence. Her driver opened the door. She placed one high-heeled shoe on the red carpet leading to the entrance, then the other. She stood tall. With her security team forming a solemn guard around her, Ya walked through the doors, setting off the wave of shock that would forever change the day. As she finished speaking her shocking truths to the stunned wedding guests, revealing their betrayal and her hidden strength, she handed the microphone back. But she did not leave. Instead, she turned to Kofi, whose face was now beaded with sweat. "You stole 3 million cedis from me, Kofi," she announced, her voice ringing out. "The police are very interested in that." At that exact moment, the distant sound of sirens pierced the air, growing louder and louder, cutting through the silence of the venue. Every head turned towards the entrance once more. The sirens wailed to a stop right outside the lavish wedding venue in Airport City. The beautiful decorations now felt like a mockery as blue and red lights pulsed through the open doors, painting the horrified faces of the guests. 2 police officers and a woman in a sharp business suit, an official from the Bank of Ghana, walked in. They marched straight towards Kofi, who was desperately trying to convince a group of investors that Ya was lying. "Kofi Mensah," the lead officer said, his voice cutting through the din, "we need you to come with us. We have questions regarding the fraudulent acquisition and laundering of 3 million Ghana cedis, funds reported as stolen." Omar let out a choked cry, her bouquet falling to the floor. 1 hour later, the venue was almost empty. The elegant chairs were overturned, half-eaten plates of food abandoned on tables. Ya watched from her parked car across the street as Kofi was led into a police vehicle, his head bowed. Omar followed in another car with her family, sobbing uncontrollably. The spectacle was over. Ya felt no joy, only a deep, weary sense of closure. "Drive, Kwame," she said softly. "Take me home." The next morning, the story was everywhere. The headlines screamed, "Wedding Day Arrest, Businessman Exposed AS Fraud," and "Billionaire stages epic comeback." Social media was flooded with videos of Ya walking into the wedding and her speech. The public, and more importantly, the business community, were captivated. Messages of support poured in, but so did anxious calls from Kofi's now former partners, scrambling to distance themselves. In a quiet office at Adinkra Holdings, Ya met with Mr. Boten and Efla. The police have frozen all of New Dawn Properties accounts, Mr. Boten reported. The evidence we provided, bank records, the doctored bankruptcy filings showing his motive, is airtight. He will face charges. Efla added, and the investors who pulled out yesterday have already reached out to us, seeking alternative partnerships. Ya nodded. Tell them appointments can be scheduled next week. We will listen, but we are not desperate. A low moment followed the high. Back in her home, the silence felt heavy. The fight was done. Now, Ya had to face the emotional wreckage left behind. She walked through the empty rooms she once shared with Kofi, feeling the ghost of her old life, the betrayal of her best friend. She allowed herself to cry, not tears of weakness, but of release for the pain she had boxed away for survival. A week later, Oma came to see her. She looked hollow, the wedding day glamour gone. "Yeah, please," she begged at the doorway. "He made me do it. He said you were finished." I was confused. "Please, don't ruin my life too." Ya looked at her former friend, feeling nothing but pity. "Oma, you made your choices. You visited me in that hospital, held my hand, and all the while you were with my husband. I will not help you, but I will not pursue you legally. You will have to live with what you've done. That is your consequence." She closed the door, ending that chapter for good. With her strength fully returned, Ya threw herself into her father's company. She announced to the world that Adinkra Holdings was not only intact but thriving, with new, ethical leadership. She launched a foundation in her father's name to support accident victims and provide rehabilitation services, ensuring others would have the hope and help she had to fight for alone. Months passed. Kofi's court case was a slow, public unraveling. His business collapsed completely, and he was sentenced to prison for fraud and embezzlement. The man who called her a dead weight was now the one whose future was crippled. Ya read the news with a solemn face, then turned her attention to a new project, building affordable housing, a stark contrast to Kofi's failed luxury estates. One sunny afternoon, Ya stood on the site of her new foundation's community center. Children played nearby, and the sound of construction was a noise of hope. A reporter asked her, "What would you say to anyone who feels broken or betrayed?" Ya smiled, looking at the vibrant life around her. "I would say your lowest point is not your destination. It is only the ground from which you push yourself up. Be patient. Be silent if you must. But never, ever stop fighting to walk again." A year after the wedding that shocked a nation, Ya hosted a grand charity gala. She wore a beautiful dress, not of revenge, but of celebration. She moved through the crowd, confident and graceful, greeted with respect and admiration. From across the room, she saw a familiar face, an old friend from university, a kind-eyed engineer named David, who had sent her a simple message of support during her hardest time. He waved, and she walked over to him, her heart light and open. As they talked and laughed under the stars, Ya knew her journey was no longer about the past. It was about a future, bright and full of promise, built by her own two strong legs and her unbreakable spirit. She had not just reclaimed her throne, she had built a new, kinder kingdom.